Okay, 7 o'clock. Here we are, ready to start the Jacksonville Beach Candidate Forum 2024. It's been quite the challenging time to get our forum scheduled, but thankfully we can, even though it's through Zoom. So hopefully everyone who's signing in will enjoy and benefit from this. We're recording it as always, so it will be on our website and YouTube channel tomorrow. So please share this with your constituents, share this with your friends, family, neighbors, because we know this is it's been an odd time. So good evening. Welcome to the Beaches Watch Jacksonville Candidate Forum. I'm Maria Mark. I'm president of Beaches Watch. I'll be your host and moderator for tonight. So this forum is being recorded, and as I said, will be uploaded to our website and YouTube channel tomorrow. For those first timers, maybe signing in to Beaches Watch, we are a nonprofit civic organization whose mission, in part, is to host programs that inform our Beaches Watch citizens on important topics that can impact your quality of life, such as upcoming elections like this. So we are a membership organization, and your membership dues and donations support us to do what we do, which is candidate forums. It also supports our Flan Sharp Memorial Scholarship for Fletcher High School's senior, $1,000. And we also are part of the Give Back Award, which we honor a nonprofit organization here at the beaches that really has improved the quality of life for our residents. Let's see, I think we are accepting nominations through the 18th. No, are we done? No, 18th. So we have till Friday. You have till Friday to nominate a nonprofit. And so our membership is nominal. It's $20 for family, $15 for individual, and $5 for students. You can go on our website and join there or give a donation. Okay, so we're here at the forum. As I said, Hurricane Milton and other impacts, we're hosting this via Zoom. So we're happy that we're able to do this to bring our Jacksonville Beach candidates to the citizens. It is open as far as to the public. However, we are not taking questions from the audience. If you do have specific questions for candidates or all the candidates, we do have a chat box that you can access down at the lower part of your bar. And if you want to put your questions in or comments, we will take those and we will try to disseminate them accordingly. Or you feel free to contact the candidates directly. We did send the candidates written questions, all the beaches actually. Jack's Beach, though, we did send the written questions. The candidates have responded. Those who've responded, we will post their written responses on our website tomorrow. So following the forum. Okay, so let's get into this now. We'll meet the candidates. So
do you want to go? Do we need to go through the timing?
Oh, yes. So sorry. Yes, I skipped the rules. There are rules. Sorry.
Rules.
Thank you. Thank you, timekeeper. So he's the main one that we have to worry about. That you guys have to worry about, not me. Okay. Yes. So candidate forum, decorum and rules. So the candidates, each of you will have 2 minutes to answer the questions, respond to the questions, and you'll have 2 minutes for closing. Our timer, Steve Piscatelli, will give you a 30-second warning. Well,
You'll,
okay.
you'll start with the go.
Green go. When I ask you the question, he gives you the green.
When you start talking, I'll put the green go on. When you're at 30 seconds left, you'll get that. And then when it's time to stop, you'll get that. And if you keep talking, you'll get that. You'll get the cowbell. Okay? Nothing
Caveat,
else to smile.
caveat is if you're in the middle of your response or your thought, we will let you finish. We just won't let you continue to pontificate past that. So then the cowbell comes up. Let's see. We will be asking all of the candidates the same questions, and we do have the rotation, which I think I sent to all of you guys earlier, so you'll kind of get an idea of the rotation. So no one's always answering first or last. There's no allotted time for rebuttal. However, if you feel like there's something you want to respond to in a previous statement, feel free to use your time for that. Oh, and when you're not answering a question, we ask that you please mute your mics just to avoid background noise, and just be respectful of your time so that we can allow all of the candidates to have their time to respond. Audience, those who have signed in, there is no Q&A following the forum. However, like I said, if you have specific questions or a question you want to send to the candidates, please go ahead and put them in the chat box. We will be monitoring that and will disseminate those questions as appropriate following the forum. So, okay. Are there any questions? Any angst? No angst. Okay. You guys are ready. You guys are seasoned. Okay. So let's meet the candidates. In Zoom, we're not able to really put you in the format or in the order that we normally would. However, mayor seat, we have our incumbent, Chris Hoffman, and we have challenger, Georgette Dumont. Councilor seat 1, we have Fernando Meza, incumbent, and then we have challenger Bruce Wouters. Councilor seat 2, we have incumbent Dan Jansen, and then we have challenger B. Duke Lewis, which I'll just refer to as Duke or Mr. Lewis. Very nice. And then we have Councilor seat 3, incumbent Greg Sutton, and challenger Jennifer Ashley. All right. So thank you all very much for serving and for stepping up. This is our political climate right now is not the most friendliest. So thank you all. And thank you for our incumbents for what you have done already. All right. So we're ready. Okay. So the first question, we will start off with this is alphabetically. So we'll start off with our mayor. We'll start off with Ms. Dumont, followed by Ms. Hoffman, then followed by Mr. Meza, Mr. Wouters, Mr. Jansen, Mr. Lewis, Ms. Ashley, and Mr. Sutton. We'll make sure we let you guys know all that beforehand. So, but anyway, first question. Tell us about yourself, why you're running for office, and what differentiates you from your opponent. Ms. Dumont.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Beaches Watch for having and hosting this forum. Let's say it's been a rough go, but we finally did it. So yay, yay.
Yay.
So thank you, Beaches Watch. And I want to thank everybody who's watching live, as well as those who are tuning in later on. I hope you are able to learn a lot about the candidates, about us, and be able to make an informed decision when you vote sometime within the next 20 days. So my name is Georgette Dumont. I moved to Jax Beach in 2010. My husband and I accepted positions at the University of North Florida, swoop. We both teach there. We teach government. We teach the business side of government, not the how you get elected side of government. And since moving here, I've been very active in the community. I have served on multiple appointed, volunteer, and an elected board, an elected position. So I spent 6 years on the Planning Commission, and I left the Planning Commission to move over to City Council, and I served one term from 2018 to 2022. At that time, we had reviewed the charter, and I saw a couple big issues that we placed in a parking lot that we're going to later on move forward and bring it forward to the voters. I stepped off council because I knew on council I was in a super minority and my vote was just going to be one of 2 no's. And so I stepped off council, started Protect the Beach Life. And with Protect the Beach Life, we raised the money and I did the designs and such and worked in cooperation with Better Beach 32250 in order to make sure people knew what was going to be on the ballot. So that was a critical piece right there. But in addition, I've served on many nonprofit boards of directors. I'm a consultant as well. So with consulting, I work with public and nonprofit organizations on strategy, goal setting, charter reviews, and things like that. What differentiates me from my opponent is,
Go ahead.
okay, so what differentiates me from my opponent is I really listen to the residents and the citizens, and I respect what you say, and I try and work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hoffman?
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Good evening. I'm Chris Hoffman. I am currently the mayor of Jacksonville Beach, and I'm seeking support for my reelection for my second and final term as the mayor. I am a Navy kid. We were brought here in the early 80s by the Navy, and we were brought back in the early 90s by my mom, who said Jax Beach or bust. I went to Fletcher High School, the University of Florida, and the University of North Florida. Career-wise, I've been in the nonprofit sector, both as an employee as well as a volunteer and a leader here with local nonprofits, including the American Cancer Society, BEAM. I'm on the hospital board for Baptist Medical Center. I was on the board of the VLSC, and I'm active with our Rotary Club here at Oceanside. So I purchased my home and made the final move to Jacksonville Beach in 2010. My dad retired here. My whole family is here. So we got to pick our hometown, and our hometown is Jacksonville Beach. I'm running for re-election because I think we are headed in a great direction in Jacksonville Beach. We have a lot of good things going on, and I want to be part of continuing that and continuing to work with our citizens, our businesses, with our organizations to do some great things here in Jacksonville Beach. What differentiates me from my opponent is that I'm a proven leader. I've been doing this work even before I was an elected official. I've been leading in this community. Forgot to mention, I'm also the executive director of the Beaches Museum, have been here for 10 years. So I've proven leadership. I've built relationships, both locally. I have the endorsement of 5 of my fellow council members. I have the endorsement of my fellow Beaches mayors, our Jacksonville city councilmen, as well as our state and federal representatives. So I have those relationships. They're already built. They're already established. It takes time to do that. And you need to have those relationships when you walk in the door to be ready to lead. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Meza? Fernando?
Ready?
Ready.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy evening. I know you guys are watching through Zoom, comfort of your home, and Beaches Watch, of course. Thank you for hosting this forum. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I volunteered and joined the United States Navy after the unfortunate terrorist attacks of September 11. I was stationed here at Mayport, which is what led me to beautiful Jacksonville Beach, a place that I fell in love with, a place that welcomed me with open arms. I'm running for re-election for the same reason I ran back in 2012, 2014, 2020, and right now. And that reason is you, the residents, the locally owned businesses here, and of course, our first responders. Right now, there's a lot more at stake. Recently, I got married to my beautiful wife. I have a family of 3 to protect and love. Our son, Liam, and maybe if we're lucky, a family of 4. So there's a lot more at stake. So now I'm already invested, but there's more to be invested in. In 2019, I was appointed to the Board of Library Trustees by former Mayor Lenny Curry. And just was official as October 1st, I was nominated and voted by my peers to be the chair of the library board. I have been involved in this community since I was in my 20s. I am a graduate from University of North Florida with a degree in political science. I've been involved in multiple charities. This community means a lot to me. What differentiates me between me and my opponent is I have received many endorsements. I have gone to council meetings day in and day out. I have been a voice for residents, not just in the service industry, but for other individuals as well. On November 5th, I am asking you to re-elect me into city council. Our job, my job is not done, as I want to continue to protect this community with our first responders, not only in supporting whatever they need, but supporting our residents and protecting them and protecting our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wouters?
Yes, Ms. Marks. Thank you so much. Thank you to Beaches Watch. Really appreciate y'all on your 20th anniversary. You know, it's funny, the Beaches Watch was born out of the movement to fight overdevelopment at the marina at that time, where they wanted to put in 90-foot condos, and I'm cut from that same cloth. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bruce Wouters, and I've spent the last 20 years in classrooms. I'm not a professional politician, and frankly, I never wanted to be one, but after witnessing all I have in the last few years, I can't take it anymore. I've been to so many meetings where residents are ignored, where decisions feel like they've been made before they started. I spent 8 years at Fletcher High School in the last 3 years of my life working with beach kids in the 3 elementary schools out here at Seabreeze, Jacks Beach Elementary, San Pablo, and Neptune Beach in addition, as well as Anchor Academy. And I fought to save our schools because that's very, very important. And at the Fletcher High School meeting, I was there. Let me just leave it at that. And I spoke. And I went to the last meeting at Terry Parker High School and made my voice heard, because that's more important to me than anything. Leaving a better place for our kids to live in. I was taught, and I believe, that you should leave the world better than you found it. And I submit, and I put it to you good people out there to decide, was putting the height amendment on the ballot going to make us a better place? Was getting rid of the volunteer life-saving corps good for our community? Was getting rid of the best family-friendly activity at the beaches and Adventure Landing a good idea? Mr. Mays is a great guy, and I really like him. When I run into him at Jaguar games, I have nothing against him. It's these people vote as a group, and that's why we're standing up to try to save and protect our beach life. My name is Bruce, and I'm asking for your vote and your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jansen?
Good evening, everyone. First off, I want to take a moment to acknowledge Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, my wonderful wife, and my immediate family. Without them, I wouldn't be here tonight. My name is Dan Jansen. I grew up here in Jacksonville Beach, went to Seabreeze Elementary all the way through Fletcher High School. After that, I went to FSCJ, got my degree there, and entered into the field of law enforcement. I had a 28-year career with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, marked with great accolades. And in 2011, I was named Officer of the Year for my efforts in continuous improvement as a detective sergeant with the homicide unit. Post my career, I retired in 2020. I wanted to continue public service. And so I decided at that point that I would get involved in government here at the beach. So I ran for office, put on a campaign, knocked on thousands of doors, asked a lot of questions, and came up just a few hundred votes short of winning that election. So after that, I decided, well, the best way to serve this community would be to apply for a board. So I did that, got selected for the Board of Adjustments, served there for 2 years, and then I ran a second campaign. And in that campaign, the proud work that we put in the first one, we did again in the second campaign. and did the same thing, knocking on doors, raising money, putting out signs, the whole 9 yards. And on qualifying day, I was fortunate enough to run unopposed. So then after that, I had my third campaign, which we're at right now. And well, not on time.
You still got some seconds left.
Okay. After my third campaign, I got involved in everything governance, got involved with the Florida League of Cities, the National League of Cities, and immersed myself in the public pension trustee, got my certification as that, and now I'm on the pension board for the city of Jacksonville Beach.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jansen. Mr. Lewis. Unmute,
Microphone.
unmute.
Mm-mm. No. Can't hear you. Your mic's still muted. There
So
you go.
I guess I can introduce myself, Duke Lewis. The guys are not very good at Zoom. All right, we'll start with that. So I'm a husband, I'm a father, I have 2 kids. If this is a contest to come down to how long I've lived in Jacksonville Beach, Dan has me beat. Okay, he's lived here longer. This is a contest about how you serve the city and how you vote for the citizens. A little history of me, I'm a former first responder. I was a firefighter paramedic for 10 years. I'm a small business owner. I owned Advanced Cardiac Training. You might remember it, above Engine 15 before we sold it. We did continuing education for medical professionals. While being a fireman, I learned how to work in government. I learned that we had budgets. I learned that we had roles and responsibilities, from doing fire drills at schools to smoke detector inspections, to sometimes being the first time citizens have ever interacted with their government, you know, on a medical call. Moving forward as a business owner, I had to learn budgets. I had to learn how to make payroll. I had to learn HR. Clearly, I didn't learn Zoom. But in that, I learned how to interact with people, how to make schedules, how to hold others accountable. And so being a small business owner taught me, when we went to expand, I learned how to apply for a license and to work with the building department and code enforcement to make sure our new facility was going to work for our students and them. So what differentiates me between my opponent is I have an unblemished record of listening to the citizens. My opponent, I've seen multiple times from sitting at city council meetings, listens intently to the many speakers that comes up, and then no way, shape, or form votes in their interest. He votes opposite of what they say. So the number one thing that differentiates us is the fact that I'm willing to listen to citizens. I'm willing to take their thoughts into consideration when I make my decisions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Ms. Ashley? Yes.
Hi, thank you. Well, first, thank you to Beaches Watch. You're an institution, and what you do for the beach residents is really important and vital. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. We really appreciate it. I am running for seat 3 at large for Jacksonville Beach City Council. My qualifications are that I received a bachelor's degree, a really useful one, in English literature from University of Florida. I received a master's in public administration at City University of New York. And that degree was something that I earned based on my interest in local government. It's primarily for individuals who are interested in leadership roles in government and in nonprofits. And so then I went on for a lifelong career, over 15 years, working in nonprofits. Most of that work has been at the intersection of local government and community, making local government work for its citizens. So that could look like, I founded an organization that worked with state, city, and business leadership to help individuals living with dementia and their caregivers inhabit a more dementia-capable city. That could look like a group of moms who approached me about being interested in getting styrofoam containers out of cafeterias and schools. And I helped them navigate the DOT, who to talk to, how to speak that language, what were the interesting points. Oh, am I already at yellow? Anyway, yes, so what differentiates me? I'm action-oriented. I think we're at a very critical time in Jax Beach, and that's very important. Mr. Sutton has a very storied family, And history, legacy does not equal leadership. And I do believe that for this next phase, that I am the person who can get things done in Jax Beach in a way that is not the status quo, which I believe Mr. Sutton stands for. Sorry.
Thank you. First cowbell. Okay, Vanessa. Okay, Mr. Sutton?
Thank
You
you,
want to
Maria and
respond?
Sandy and Beaches Watch, and for all that you do for the beach. It's very valued. I'm Greg Sutton. I'm your current city councilman in seat 3, 5th generation Jax Beach native. For those that have seen some of the great old pictures that we have around and that are at the Beaches Museum, my great-great-grandmother started the Perkins Bathhouse in Pablo Beach, which of course then became Jacksonville Beach in 1907. And my family's been in Jax Beach ever since that time. Most are probably familiar with my uncle, Wimpy Sutton, and likely were touched in some way through him as either a teacher or a coach or a fisherman or a swim instructor or buying a Christmas tree from him or whatever. So my love for Jax Beach is, really, generational and something that I'm very proud of. Graduated from Fletcher in 1981 and then JU in 1985. I would say for sure in the 4th quarter now of a consistent and progressively successful 38-year career at Florida Blue and its subsidiaries. I currently serve on the board of our great 112-year-old volunteer life-saving corps, where my paternal grandfather, grandmother, uncle, and dad were corpsmen or corpswoman. Started service to Jax Beach into the community 21 years ago when then Mayor Bob Marsden asked me to serve on the Code Enforcement Board, then moved to the Planning Commission for 17 years, 8 of which I was chair, and then the last 2 years on the City Council. So that continuous and consistent service to Jax Beach and the underlying knowledge and how to deal with City Hall and maneuver with City Hall is really what differentiates me and sets me apart. And I ask for your support.
Thank you. Okay. Next question, we will start out with Mr. Wouters, followed by Mr. Meza, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Jansen, Sutton, Ashley, Hoffman, and Dumont. So I'll let you guys know that order as we go. Next question. So this is about downtown. It's not a hot topic, is it? No, not ever. So tell the viewers what your vision is. I mean, your personal vision for downtown Jacksonville Beach. And I guess these issues have recently come up, but please include your position on the redesigning of Latham Plaza and the parking lot that I guess is part of that vision. So Bruce, what do you think?
That's a great question, Ms. Marks. Thank you so much. Our chief of police in the aftermath of the St. Patrick's Day shooting asked the council in his debriefing a week or so after the terrible tragedy where 2 people were killed, 2 others shot, and a police officer, as reported in the Beaches Leader, was shot at, but thank God that bullet missed him and didn't hit a bystander in the background. When knocking on doors, several residents have referred to our central business district as the Central Bar District. And I understand why. For all the people I've talked to, so many, no local will go down there at night, much less take their family. And I personally stopped going down there about 15 years ago because I felt uncomfortable. So what we need are family-friendly activities. And by parking lot, if you're referring to the 55 Height Amendment, which I mentioned earlier, these incumbents talk about listening to the residents. Well, let's just review. In 2004, 76% of the residents put the 35-foot height limit in place. Because most people that live here don't want this to turn into Daytona Beach. Then, despite that, these folks decided, we should raise it to 55 feet and let's put it on the ballot. Well, 82% of the people voted that down, and I was part of that movement, and I have my shirt right there to prove it. And I want to thank Ms. Dumont, Ms. Steineke, and all the other groups and people who got out there and fought to stop this. So what we need are more family-friendly businesses downtown. Now, I just want to make the record clear. I was advocating for higher pay for our police in July at the Beaches Watch meeting. And I would also, they're going to add 4 in the Cape District, and they created a pay raise for new employees of 21%, but the existing force will only get a small portion of that. When I was teaching, they did the same thing. In 2020, they gave new teachers $10,000 raise, while existing teachers got about $1,000, and it was a slap in the face. I think we can do more. We need 4 officers that can serve the general population, and we need to make downtown safe. My name is Bruce, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mesa, you're next.
Yes, my vision for downtown. Well, I have a business. I'm a locally owned business there. I know what happens downtown, and I have been going to city councils advocating for safety in downtown since I was just a regular college kid. I was probably 23 years old. I've been going to these council meetings advocating for the police force to have better resources. I was there when the Cape started with 2 officers. Now we're at 11 officers. Obviously, there's been an agenda, a rhetoric of anti-police. So many people don't want to become police officers. So we were shorthanded. Yes, we did give them a pay raise because they deserve it. Now with the vision downtown, there were many restaurants back in the day that were acting restaurant in name only, who were a lot of the problem. Hence, we had the after hours permit that Mayor Fran Sharp brought up. At the beginning, I was against it, but after I learned more and years went by, I understood why it was done. Many restaurants were acting out, which brought a lot of the people that were not good actors. Right now, we don't have any of those anymore. We have Oku, we have Oaxaca, we have Jekyll, we have a new restaurant that's coming up on the boardwalk, which is going to be a really good addition to our community. Now with the Latham parking lot, we brought it up to the voters. That was it. It got voted down. To me, that height limit for that parking lot or the height limit in downtown, it's that to me. I just wanted the voters to vote on it. If it passed, great. And if it didn't, good. But we do need to make downtown a little bit more walkable. Now there were rumors or thoughts about closing First Street down to be more walkable. And at one point it was brought up to make it an open container. I do not support that. It's not good. I want family-friendly businesses here, but what defines family-friendly? We'll answer that later. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
Thank you very much for that question. So I think the average Jax Beach citizen, when they think about downtown, they want a place they could take their family out to dinner, find a parking spot, go to dinner, and feel safe during that whole trip. That is not what we have downtown right now. I think one of the issues going forward is parking. It seems our LDC code is getting written in a way to not require parking for businesses down there at certain things. I don't know how many times we can continue to count the same parking spot for multiple restaurants and people trying to access the beach and just, well, city hall parking and business parking. It seems as though when we reduce that parking requirement, we end up coming downtown, all the spots are filled, you're parking away, you're walking through other areas, and it's just not a convenient thing. Another issue I think that keeps a lot of people from going downtown is to try and find a non-alcoholic place to hang out. It seems as though it is just a bar district. It seems as though it's not a place you could head with your kids after 6 to 8 o'clock. I know that in 2023, the legislation highlight of this city council was the fact that they were able to lobby the legislature in Florida to get a liquor license for a restaurant that had less than 150 people. I don't think the average beach citizen or the average person out there wants their government working to get more liquor establishments in downtown Jax Beach. We feel we have enough. Now, when it comes to the parking garage and the vote, the voters told the council how they felt about it, but the council felt they needed to hear it again, that it had been brought up. The council or the voters overwhelmingly shot it down by 82%. My opponent, per his Jacksonville Today voter guide, says that he is still for a 55-foot height limit because he's listened to the developers, and the developers has told him the only way we can have a safe downtown is if we allow building over 35 feet. I disagree. I think Chief Smith does a great job. He needs to be given more. We don't need to continue to congratulate him for working so well with less. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jansen.
Yes. So let's go back 3 years before I was on council. We've come a long way in our downtown. We've added 3 fantastic establishments there that are family friendly. And we have a vision to continue to do that. My vision of our downtown is similar to something like Avondale or San Marco, where you have cafes and restaurants, al fresco seating, rooftop dining. And when it comes to the issue of public safety, the one mitigating factor that I've seen over the course of my term in council is these unwanted or undesired groups that come into our downtown space, and they bring their bad actors and they create problems. In that shooting that Mr. Welders brought up, they shot each other, and that's something we don't want in our downtown area. I've met with the police chief on numerous occasions. We've had deep, spirited conversations about how this looks and how we move forward. And one of the issues we brought up was improving upon our intelligence, getting a full-time intelligence detective, set up geofencing so that when they start texting via social media or text or anything in that manner, and saying, hey, let's meet up here, let's meet by the pier, let's meet wherever it is downtown, that they can get in front of it before this action starts. And once we get a hold of that and get a grip on that and start improving upon the Latham Plaza and the Latham parking lot and establish a nice, basically continue what we were doing on the other side of the road, then we'll have a much more enjoyable, walkable, because right now the downtown's not, you don't see any activity during the middle of the day. You have an enjoyable, walkable downtown that will be very safe. We visit it frequently, my wife and my children, and we go out to dinner there. We've been to Oku, we've been to all the restaurants down there, Oaxaca, Jekyll Island, Carrabba's, all of them, and we like to visit on a frequent basis.
Thank you. Mr. Sutton?
Since I've been on council, I guess now the last 23 months or so, we've really seen some beautiful new redevelopment in the downtown area, such as people have mentioned it, Oaxaca, Jekyll Island Brewing, and even Spring Hill Suites there. Recently, we approved another development on the western half of the block behind Mangoes, I believe it is, which promises to greatly enhance that area with some mixed use and restaurant space. And I think, you know, such smart development greatly enhances our downtown CBD and attracts the patrons and residents and visitors that we desire. And a thriving central business district will only help drive away and eliminate this contingent that has brought crime and violence into our downtown area on occasion. So, you know, I envision First Street, whether it continues as a two-way street or we change it to a one-way or we change it to pedestrian only, of being, you know, sidewalk cafes and something really nice for, you know, both residents and visitors to be able to enjoy restaurant areas and that type of thing. It's certainly dramatically different than it was back in the 70s and 80s when that whole area became very blighted. It was a haven for drugs and prostitution back then. So we've come a long way, but we've got a long way to go as well. That being said, you mentioned parking. We certainly have some parking challenges in the area. On busy weekends and holidays, parking spills over into the neighborhoods west of 3rd Street, which introduces all other sorts of issues. So I think a well thought out public-private partnership structure on that existing asphalt parking lot there between Sneakers and Latham Plaza has the opportunity to expand some parking capacity and introduce some, some nice mixed use dining options or shopping options that would look onto Latham Plaza from the south and sort of complement the new additions of Oaxaca and Jekyll Island from the north. So I favor, smart development again that will further activate the area and help drive away an undesirable contingent.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Ms. Ashley, you're next.
Thank you. So I grew up, I was born and raised in Jacks Beach. My whole family still lives here. And I grew up during that blighted time. And I don't know which seems more blighted, downtown now or the downtown that I grew up in, because we had a boardwalk. We had the pier was very activated with all kinds of things for people to do. There was restaurants, foods at every price point for people, less bars, and probably less abandoned lots. So I'm not really sure. I know we always get the reputation growing up during that time that we lived in a blighted city, but show me, the improvement. Also with Mangoes, to cite that project as mixed use, I think is a little disingenuous. As far as I'm aware, the sort of mixed use part of it is a private club, a members only club, which, since we have all these growing families in Jacks Beach, one thing toddlers really love is a private club to go to. So I don't know if that's the right kind of mixed use, but yeah, I envision a downtown that is family friendly, that has a lot of different things, including people who can live down there. That also activates a lot of safety for people. So when you have that many eyes, that many different types of people and businesses together, that's where the built environment comes into our public safety conversation. So it is very important. As for the Fight for 55, I would have never voted for it, but I will have to say that it is a recurring theme for this council, which is that you see citizens having to mobilize and fight so hard against the people who should have their best interests in mind. And so I think that that's something that you'll see over and over again in all of these topics that we're talking about, is having to work for representing themselves because they don't feel like they're represented by this council.
Thank you. Ms. Hoffman?
Yes, thank you. It's interesting how our different histories kind of overlap with our downtown area. One of the benefits of working here at the Beaches Museum is I kind of get to stand at the intersection of our past, present, and future. For me, my memories of downtown in the 90s were that the Cass Marina was boarded up. There was a club called Einstein's A Go-Go, and there was a restaurant called the Crab Pot, which those were kind of the main places you went downtown, if you went downtown at all. Subsequent to that, there was another effort at redevelopment that brought in our Seawalk Pavilion, Latham Plaza, and then redeveloped that whole kind of central area in there. The second round of redevelopment that also brought in a lot of surface level parking, which if you know anything about walkable cities, you know that surface level parking is a killer to walkability. So I think that with the advent of the Community Redevelopment Agency and the TIF funding, we have had an opportunity to make a lot of investment in the infrastructure of our downtown area, in the stormwater improvements and things that I remember downtown flooded frequently, things like that. So we've been able to invest in that infrastructure as well as in our public spaces. And most recently, you've seen us investing a lot in public art and bike racks and other things that make that to give that area a little more vibrancy. And we've seen the investment kind of respond in kind. We've had everyone has already mentioned several new restaurants come in, the hotels. If you look at the earlier hotels, they're up the beach. They are not in the downtown area because when they were built, they didn't want to be downtown. So we're not there yet. We have a long way to go with our downtown, but we need to continue to invest our public dollars to leverage that private investment to do the things that we want. And one of the things we've done recently was with Oaxaca Club and Jekyll Brewing was work with them on a pilot program to do the outdoor dining in the right of way, which has inarguably been a huge success. So I think we need to build on those sorts of policy changes and to really bring in the investment that we want in our downtown area.
Oh, thank you. And Ms. Dumont?
Thank you. When it comes to downtown, I want to see a family-friendly downtown. I have the endorsement of former Mayor Charlie Latham, who is all about family-friendly, as well as the last two police chiefs, Chief Thomason and Chief Dooley. They all fought for a family-friendly, safe downtown. I envision that being an eclectic array of restaurants, not just high-end restaurants, but restaurants where all families can go there and you pick what kind of a restaurant is in your price point. We need to make sure that we maintain that eclecticness, not just with restaurants, but also with businesses, with little shops and things such as that. If you look at downtown, yes, the city has invested a lot in the infrastructure, but look around, there are these murals, but they're around really bad lots. The city has dropped the ball on making sure that the downtown looks like we respect the downtown. How do we expect people who visit Jack's Beach to respect Jack's Beach when it looks like we don't respect our own city? And that is a huge piece. With regard to leadership, I have had multiple leadership roles that I'm not going to list here at the university as well publicly. Parking is an issue. In the lot south of Latham Plaza, that is going to be a P3 partnership at 35 feet. So that's a moot point at this right now. With regard to the 55-foot height limit, what really irked me, in addition to how the citizens were treated when they were speaking out against it, was that they passed it the night before the deadline to get it on the May ballot, a historically low turnout election. They said it was because the ballot, they needed that for as soon as they knew they could put out the RFP. That RFP still has not gone out. There is no sense of urgency from the current leadership on city council to get things done in Jack's Beach.
Thank you. Okay, next question. For many years, everyone has been focused on the downtown area and the downtown action plan. What would be your action plan for the rest of Jacksonville Beach? 30,000 foot, I'm sure. Or maybe you can drill it down to a little more than that. So we will start with Mr. Jansen on this one.
If I understand your question correctly, what is our vision overall for the city of Jacksonville Beach?
Well, the downtown area, yeah. What would be your action plan for the rest of Jacksonville Beach? Not just downtown, but you've got a whole other part of your city there.
Right. So there's some things that are already in play right now. Obviously, the city of Jacksonville is wanting to redevelop Penman Road. We have the urban trails that's already been approved, and we got to look at that and see how that's going to be implemented. Both of those factors come into play with our entire city, and we can talk about this for the next couple of hours. When it comes to, for instance, Penman Road, though we're not the initial stakeholder in that thoroughfare, we do have a voice in it because it's in our city, and some of the residents have spoken out about the medians and their concerns about the roundabouts and that type of thing. And we have to be mindful of their properties. We have to be mindful that they have to get in and out of their driveways because there's a lot of residents. I think there's 67 all in all along Penman Road. And so we have to make sure that the traffic engineers who were paid lots of money by the city of Jacksonville to design that roadway have done so in such a manner that it takes in all the concerns. But I'll tell you this, over the past many decades that I've lived in the city, the one thing that hasn't changed was Penman Road. We still have the swales on the side of the road. We still have, it's a dangerous crossing. It's like playing Frogger just to get across that road. Shifting over to urban trails. So the overarching position I have on urban trails is similar to Penman Road. We have to be mindful of everybody's yard and what the urban trails would look like going through their yards. Never mind block to block or neighborhood to neighborhood. But there's two other trails, the East Coast Greenway, which extends from Maine to Key West, and the Emerald Trail, which was put in place by the Deegan administration, both of which want to come through Jacksonville Beach. So we need to be in front of that with our own urban trails, and we need to be the ones that dictate how our urban trails look And we have the voice to say, this is what we want it to be before the federal government comes in here or the city of Jacksonville comes in here and says, nah, we're going to do the urban trails this way.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Ms. or Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, thank you. So when asking about the rest of Jacksonville Beach, I think overall, I'm concerned that there's nothing to do for our teenagers. You know, it seems to be kids turn 12, 13, probably up till they're 18. There's a lot of angst there. There's a lot of, they need activities. They need things to do. Look, when Adventure Landing goes away, what are we going to have left? To go bowling? All right. So what I would like to see for the rest of Jacksonville Beach is some things come up for teenagers, kind of that middle kid. It seems as though we have things for toddlers and we have things for adults, but we don't really have a lot. As Jennifer said, we used to have a boardwalk. Like I remember riding go-karts down at the beach. We had things to do. And now I'm fearful that as we continue to push toward a bar district and just a bar downtown, it seems as though no one else is really investing in Jax Beach for those. As far as what my opponent mentioned on Penman Road, yes, we need a better Penman Road. What I like about Penman Road is they put out a rendering and the citizens got upset and they voiced their opinion and they came back with a new one. And that one had less roundabouts. That one had less medians. I don't think the engineers considered that when putting a median up, it might mean that people can no longer swing their vehicle to back a boat trailer. Can you imagine saying, well, we need to improve the road, but I'm sorry, even though you've lived in this house for 40 years, you don't have the right to back a trailer or put a boat in it anymore. When it comes to the swales, flooding is an issue. If we're going to redo Penman, this multi-generational project to fix Penman, let's make sure we hold Jacksonville accountable. We give them plenty of money. We should demand some of it back, especially to fix this road. We need to have the swales gone. If we're looking at a rendering and it shows grass, you would think it's grass. You wouldn't think it means the existing. When it comes to the urban trails, look, we need better communication. When you identify that you're going to put a 10-foot trail in front of somebody's house, they've lived there for 40 years and you've never offered to put a sidewalk in their yard, but now you're going to put a 10-foot trail. They're not going to be able to park along the curve. And your answer is, well, Maine and Key West are doing it. We got to keep up. What we need to do is come up with things that benefit the Jacksonville Beach citizens with the least amount of impact to those it's directly in front of.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Jennifer, Miss Ashley.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I agree with Duke. I think the new rendering of Penman Road does a lot to incorporate the feedback that they received from local businesses who had been really impacted by the first rendering that they were presented with. As far as urban trails go, I think that having a bikeable, walkable city is desirable. I don't think Jax Beach is there yet. I think that there are so many other priorities like downtown that we could be focusing on. And I think also there are just some rudimentary sort of foundational things about how we operate that need to change. And so in talking about respecting residents' rights, which is one of my priorities, and respecting voices, is to build into the foundation of our city council really concrete ways for residents to get involved that are meaningful ways. So we have public art that we're getting. Couldn't that be a council staffed by citizens? Could we make some recommendations or requirements that the art that we do get is created by locals? We have plenty of local artists here. Things like that. Could we have people talking about the LDC and our overarching plans? Could we have a citizens council that would talk about the character of the city and how we want developers to adhere to some of the rules that have to do with character of the city? I do think that one of the biggest missing pieces in our council, and it's, you know, we're not a big town, is that we don't have enough concrete, meaningful citizen involvement. And I think it shows in a lot of missteps or assumptions that people who have decision-making powers provide. So that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Sutton, Greg?
Yep. As
Let me
far
go
as action plan, gosh, there's that's a very broad question, and there's a lot of things I think that could be part of that. You know, our council and representatives staying involved with our state representatives. You know, we were successful along with the, you know, representatives there in pushing back against the Senate Bill 280 for short-term vacation rentals. I think we need to maintain our voice and fight for local voices in municipalities. So that's certainly a big issue. As far as urban trails, you know, I am all for walkability and bikeability. It is a very aggressive plan, but I think originally that was supposed to be a generational project spread out over, I don't know, 10 or 20 years or something. So given that, and if we look at it from, you know, through that lens, I think that a gradual implementation of an urban trail is a great idea as long as we can be flexible with it. I think, you know, further evaluation of these east-west arteries is probably necessary, possibly starting with, you know, something that encompasses the city on the perimeter, and then sort of going from there. There are a number of other issues as far as that are, you know, they're going to have to be on an action plan. We've got some legislation coming from the state that's going to, you know, require us to do a lot of work from an infrastructure and sort of water discharge standpoint into the intercoastal. So we're, you know, in the middle of working on that. We've got a very healthy water sewer fund today, fortunately, that we can draw from to do a lot of that work. So that'll be certainly work that's going to be going on soon. And then I think the changes to the comp plan and the land development code that were frustrating for everybody and very, very long overdue will certainly help move things forward and sort of grandfathering and looking at different properties that have been here, you know, for generations and helping included. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Dumont.
Thank you. My passion is helping to build and maintain and enhance strong communities. So when you talk, we focus so much on the downtown. My opponent really is focused on the downtown. It is a slight fraction of all of the land within Jax Beach. When I was on the council, I was the one who initiated the park study. We were asked, do we want to put this equipment in a park? And I'm like, well, what kind of equipment is in all of our parks? And then how old is the equipment? So that is the type of leadership that you need. My focus is making sure that we invest in our neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods have been neglected for years, sometimes with you didn't have a sidewalk, sometimes with just the regular paving. We need to make sure that we are investing in our neighborhoods through the parks and through ongoing communication. When I'm elected, I will ensure that I will have town hall meetings every quarter to make sure that you have an opportunity to speak with me about issues that you're facing so we can come up with solutions and how we can get that fixed. And that includes looking at some longstanding city policies that might not be fitting the community anymore, like the policies for speed signs and speed humps and things like that. We need to look at some of this stuff and have an open and honest conversation. The urban trails, I agree, safety is a big piece, getting around, but it is overly aggressive. Moreover, the leadership on communicating to residents what was going on for that and Penman was woeful. And I'll make sure that residents know what is going to be going on in their neighborhoods, and they have input on the front end on what any changes would be.
Right. Thank you. Ms. Hoffman.
Yes, thank you. So we most definitely do have a plan for the rest of Jacksonville Beach, and that is our strategic plan. And we were able to do that a few years ago when our new city manager came in. He did a number of community visioning meetings. He met with residents, he met with business owners, he met with all sorts of interested parties in order to start to shape the strategic plan, which we had a professional facilitator come in and help us implement. So that came with a mission vision, as well as several key priorities that we utilize in everything that we do. So we utilize our priorities in our budgeting, in our plan of work. I say we, that's our city staff as they're putting these plans and budgets together for us to evaluate and review. And the 4 priority areas, one of them is quality of life. And I think we can all agree that's a very important priority area. I was on the city council for 2 terms prior to becoming mayor. And one of the great things that we did was add a skate park to Sunshine Park. More recently, we completely renovated Sunshine Park. Both of those things were a direct result of hearing from our residents and hearing the exact issues we're hearing tonight, which is we need things for our kids to do. We can't go back in time. We're not going to be able to put a boardwalk back on the beach with Ferris wheel and bumper cars like we once had, but we can utilize our public spaces and our public parks to make those the best that we can do. Do we have some room to grow there? Absolutely. We are working on Gonzalez Park right now. It's looking beautiful. I'm ready for it to be finished, as I'm sure anyone nearby is. We also, the priority of public safety. For me, that is giving our public safety officials the tools, time, and training to do their jobs. Local economic development, I do want to address the J bill does not apply to bars. That it applies to restaurants. So that was to encourage small businesses to come into Jacksonville Beach to be able to have a liquor license if they wanted to as a smaller organization. And sustainability is the 4th. And that is important to me and to our city because that includes budgeting as well as environmental sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Meza.
Yes, excuse me.
You know, the vision that I have, you know, at a 30,000 foot level, you know, for me as a public safety guy is to have a robust public safety force, our police department. We cannot have a good quality of life. We can protect our community when it comes to police department. That means safe sidewalks, pedestrian crosswalks, and of course, giving the tools to our public works to make that happen. You know, we're talking about the urban trails. You know, I support the idea of a trail that residents can use around our beautiful beach. However, I know some sections have been put on hold because they were upset about how everything was done. Ms. DeBon brought about the communication level. You know, she was on council back then. You know, she puts out a newsletter as well. There was residents. They were at those workshops at the beginning. They were in favor of the urban trails. Now, I don't support going into a community and putting a trail if the residents aren't happy about it or they don't want it. This is where we have to step back and we think what is being done and what could be done. As for the Penman Road project, I think it needs an upgrade. When the first conversations began, I remember, and if you guys are able to go back to the recordings on the briefings, I spoke against the medians and I spoke against the roundabouts. I do support the improvement of Penman Road to where we add in safer sidewalks, pedestrian crosswalks, and of course, you know, improving our drainage since Penman Road does flood all the time. Now, I do miss Pablo Theaters. We do need more entertainment here for families, but unfortunately, it's not the city's job to prevent a business from selling their property. I don't want Adventureland to go, but they sold the property and they're still there. But okay, thank you.
They seem to be hanging in there. Okay, Mr. Wouters.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before I continue, I want to go back and address some of the things that Mr. Jansen said regarding the shootings on St. Patrick's Day. He said they shot each other. It seemed to suggest to me like, oh, well, that's okay because they didn't live here. Well, I met the mother of one of the victims and she swore up and down he was a good kid and may he rest in peace. And I also don't want to forget Robert McMahon, who was murdered on June 29th. 2 blocks from Beach Church where I attend. My pastor knew him because he was a former member of our church and he was also a member of the Fletcher family. So I just want to set the record straight. Those were people, those people that were murdered, and I care, and I am so sorry for them and their families. And I met Mr. McMahon's family and I brought him flowers and I told him we were all very sorry. So going on to the larger question of what should Jacksonville Beach be? Well, since everyone's talking about urban trails, talk about a lack of transparency and communication. It is my clear understanding that this was hatched out of 9 or 10 meetings attended by approximately a total of 100 people, half of which I understand don't even live in Jacksonville Beach. And actually, I walked the urban trails, and the first door I knocked on at 8th and Penman belongs to a man who has lived there since 1950, an old Fletcher, a beach rat. And he said he never heard of urban trails. And he wasn't excited to learn that it might be going through his front yard. And when I talked to the city official in charge of Parks and Rec, he couldn't tell me if it was going to be on the north side or the south side. So, I mean, if you're going to ask people to accept these massive projects, at least let us know what it's going to be so we know how we can react to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next question. We'll start with Mr. Sutton. Well, we sort of touched on this subject, but perhaps you can enlighten us with a little more detail. In your opinion, what is the most important public safety issue in Jacksonville Beach, and how should it be addressed? Mr. Sutton.
Well, I think the city has grown. We haven't necessarily kept up with it with the police force over the years and past councils. So I'm certainly in favor of the the budget increases that we're doing of 10 to 11% for the police department, adding additional officers, adding some additional technology. Chief Smith does a great job with what he has today, but we need more. And I believe that we also need to have some additional legislation considered where, most of these issues we've had in the downtown area start with a gathering of a large crowd. I think we need to be able to, without violating anybody's constitutional right, be able to, give our police the confidence that they can break up large gatherings in the central business district and maybe on the adjoining beachfront before they become an issue. I think they've been hesitant to do it in the past because, again, they don't want to violate, somebody's constitutional right. But in speaking with our city attorney, I think we can do some targeted areas where we, especially if we've had issues there, which is the primary area where we have had issues, we can target that and with some legislation help to break that up before they become large issues. So I think, primarily focused on the downtown area because that's quite honestly where most of our, public safety issues have been.
Thank you. Ms. Ashley, what's your opinion?
So I do agree and applaud the fact that our police force got a much needed raise and 4 new members, or 4 new positions rather. I wish it had happened before people had died, but I do think that it was a great move. I think that public safety is about empowering the police force, bringing back foot patrols in the downtown area, and making more of people's presence, police force's presence known in downtown during these sort of peak hours when people are out and about at the bars. I also think that there are just bigger themes here. And again, going back to downtown, if there's a bunch of dark corners and open fields and places that look like we don't care about our downtown, then no one else is going to respect our downtown. In addition to that, I think, like I said, the built environment has a real impact on how people behave. And so that does mean all kinds of different types of businesses, mixed use developments. That's really important. Also, and I don't know, I tried to look for this, but I haven't found it, if we have done a tourism study to see what the impact of the millions of people who come visit Jax Beach annually are. What are the positives and sort of what are the challenges to that? So I do think that downtown is sort of the sort of nexus when we're talking about safety, and that being a concern.
Thank you. Oh, Ms. Hoffman?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So the theme here is, I think the downtown is the area that is probably the most prominent and public when it comes to public safety, as well as the perception of safety. We've heard it here tonight. We want people to feel safe when they're going downtown. But I also feel like a lot of those issues that are kind of centralized there in our downtown district, we can really work through them by working with the community, by engaging our citizens, by engaging our business owners, and to make sure that they're empowered to kind of be a force multiplier to us. We have a Citizen Police Academy that is an excellent program. I started when I became mayor, a downtown hospitality business owner regular meeting. The reason that I started that was because we were only seeing the city and the downtown businesses get together when there were problems, and it was normally heated and it wasn't productive. And we had a very adversarial relationship between the city departments and our downtown business owners. We started doing those meetings. Everyone came voluntarily. They were open with issues. They got to know each other. We had a really good conversation. One really positive benefit of those meetings was at I think the second one that we held was right when news of Orange Crush had come out, that they were planning to come to our Jacksonville Beaches area. We were able to give the downtown business owners information immediately so that they knew what to look for and that they could let us know if they were hearing things from organizations that wanted to book private parties in our downtown. If we hadn't had that meeting and people had started booking private parties, Orange Crush would have been a very different experience for us and for our law enforcement and our public safety officials. We've also discussed with them public safety grants. So similar to the facade grant that we have right now in our downtown area, that people could apply to have funding for cameras and other things like that, lighting, things that would make their built environment safer for their patrons, for the people on walking by, and as well as their employees.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Okay, and we'll hear from Ms. Dumont. Georgette?
Thank you. So what we're hearing here when we talk about public safety is everyone is focusing on police, with the exception of Jen. She also included the other important aspect, and that's the environment. So yes, we have a lot of crime downtown, and that's partly because we have an environment that it seems like, well, it's okay to do that downtown. And that is mainly with the public spaces that have been poorly maintained. But public safety needs to be addressed through different lenses. It includes policing, but policing is like the after something happens, now you got to fix it. We need to look at what can we do to make it not happen in the first place. So this way we don't have deaths. We don't have the assaults that happened at Mango's a couple weeks ago where a young man had his head crushed. So that is, we need to deal with that, but we also have to deal with things like speeding. It's a simple thing and nobody really thinks about it, but that is a concern with a lot of these neighborhoods. You have cars that are speeding through. That is a public safety issue. It's a public safety issue when we start looking at e-bikes and how they're all scooting around very, very fast and not following the rules of the road or the rules of the sidewalk. That is a public safety issue. And mentioning e-bikes, that adds another kink to the urban trail system. When this was first thought of, the original plan was there would be no e-bikes or electronic motorized vehicles on it. And according to the last meeting, council briefing, that you're not going to be able to stop them. So we really need to take a hard look at how we can slow people down in Jax Beach, whether you're on a car, whether you're on an e-bike, and enhance public safety. Our police department is doing an excellent job in everything they can with the resources that they have. We should make it so they don't have to do as much by preempting a lot of the public safety issues throughout the city.
Thank you. Mr. Wouters?
There we
Yeah.
go.
There you
Thank
go.
Well, I would concur with Dr. Dumont on many of the points she made. I'm not sure many people in the community know about the mangoes incident that happened in late August. And I didn't see it in the Beaches Leader, and I'm not sure why. But in terms of what we can do to make downtown in this better, first of all, First Street is a mess. We spent millions of dollars on it, gone through all kinds of different designs. Why can't we get that straightened out? I'm not sure. And I'd like to also touch on the massive projects that are changing our city constantly. And really, the one thing I really want to talk about is the land development code. I don't know if this is coming in a later question or not, but the land development code is only as good as the paper it's written on. When you look at the Adventure Landing and the Beaches Marine, these places are rezoned overnight. And by the way, and the condos at Gonzalez Park, former council member who resigned over transparency concerns and increased workload in his personal life, sponsored 2 resolutions that authorize the rezoning of both Gonzalez Park condos, or North Shore, whatever they're called, and Adventure Landing in 2023. We're taking RS1 and RM2 communities and turning them into these PUDs, which increase densities, increase road congestion. Road congestion is getting worse every single day, and it's going to get worse if we continue on this path. In terms of crosswalks, from Beach to 16th Avenue South, there is not one dedicated crosswalk. And I know of at least one pedestrian that was killed, and I had a friend who was hit, injured, but survived. We need to make this city walkable, livable, and a place we are proud of. I love this beach, and I'm here to fight for it and for the residents. And my name is Bruce.
Thank you. Mr. Meza.
Yeah,
Any
public
other
safety is the number one, like, I believe, the overarching issue right now. But, you know, it encompasses not just downtown, but the surrounding areas. You know, we want to talk about the short-term rentals right now. You know, thank God for Governor vetoing that bill. If not, citizens and us, we would have been left hanging and having to rely on our state to regulate some of these short-term rentals. Also, we have to be thankful for our Representative Kyan Michael and Senator Clay Yarborough, who voted against it and voiced their opinion to the governor so they could veto it. But I'm also very proud that they are endorsing my campaign. I've gone to Tallahassee to advocate for Jackson Beach and the residents on that matter when it comes to public safety. As it comes to public safety downtown, I'm very proud to say that we approved the police department to purchase new cameras. They're all over the city, and they work, and they do a magnificent job. So we are doing a lot of things that should have been taken care of previous administration. I came in office in 2020, and there was a lot of things that needed to be done. And I want to continue to do, not just to make public safety in our community better, but to make Jackson Beach better for the next 50 years. I believe, you know, if you're walking around downtown or any parts of Jacksonville Beach, if you see something, say something. Call the police department, they will come out. There's no need to be silent. You know, incidents are going to happen no matter what. Someone said that you can have legislation, but you can't legislate manners. And when people go visit a location or a city or an area, if they leave their manners at home, how are you going to be able to legislate their manners? You could take them to jail, but you can't regulate how respectful that person is or not. So I think it's going to start with not just the parents, but everyone as humans. We have to treat everyone with respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis. Unmute.
All right, the question about safety. All right, and you know, I've heard a few people reference the cameras. I don't know how well the cameras were working. I don't think any of us saw any video from the shootings over the St. Patrick's Day break. The person I'm running against has a long history of being a public safety officer. Over the last 4 years, I have not seen any gains in our public safety. They pretty much culminated with 3 shootings in one day. We need to have a hybrid where the city council works with the police department in order to help make things safer. the city council can raise the parking rates so that on holiday weekends, it's more expensive for people that do not live in Jacksonville Beach to come here. You know, we don't want to have the cheapest, easiest place for criminals to congregate. Maybe it'll make them think. I know Miami had a huge spring break problem, and they got together and they came up, this city and the police worked together to try and make it a safer place. I believe you're going to hear my opponent talk about many ways he's going to make Jack's Beach safer in the future. What I would get you to ask him is, what has he done over the last 4 years? And whatever he's done, we haven't seen the results. Maybe they're still coming, but we haven't seen them. What I think we can do with safety is the city council can work along with the police department. I'm sick of praising the Jack's Beach Police Department for doing so well with so little. It's time to staff them appropriate, compensate them appropriately, and our safety goes beyond just shootings in the downtown area, but that does draw it. E-bikes, the idea that when the trails go in, e-bikes can go on the trail and we can't limit them in any way. Is that going to turn that into a highway, like almost a racetrack for e-bikes? Remember, our e-bikes, from what I've heard and what people have told me, they have a lot of near misses. We don't necessarily have the accident reports to go along with them, but what we have is a lot of people that are used to bicycles coming at them at about 10 miles an hour, not about 30 miles an hour. I don't understand how a kid can get a ticket or their parents have to come pick them up for skateboarding without a helmet in Atlantic Beach, but somehow they can ride an e-bike at 30 miles an hour.
Thank you. And Mr. Jansen, finish this up.
Yes. So let me start off by saying this. I'm pretty sure when that group of folks that came in on St. Patrick's Day decided to gather up, the last question they asked themselves was, how much is parking before we come down there? I would say that when it comes to public safety overall, that my opponent touched on it. There's several different avenues that we have to look at. Number one is the e-bikes. We just addressed it at a briefing on Monday night. That is a rise where we're having children on sidewalks and streets driving at high rates of speeds, and there's the potential for great harm and great danger on both sides of the fence on those, them hurting someone on a sidewalk or being hurt themselves on a roadway. Another overarching problem that we see coming down at the state level is, kind of follow me on this a little bit, there's some legislation that's being proposed to change the RS1 residential zoning to allow for multifamily use, multifamily development within the RS1. I know we'll be fighting hard against that because the last thing we need is the density in our residential, our charming residential neighborhoods, and that would just create more public safety issues. Now, as far as the last 3 years are concerned, yeah, let's talk about that. We've made a lot of changes, and you will be seeing the changes coming through. We created incentives for our police department to hire those with experience and giving them incentive pay to join our police department. Those without experience, we offer to pay for their academy so that they can get free schooling and get into our police department free of charge, so to speak. Then we went through the process of creating a raise for our police officers. And it's not as simple as walking into the council meeting and say, hey, what do you guys think? Let's give them a raise. I think that's a good idea. There's a thing called collective bargaining. There's a contract that's in place that's set by the union. And you have to establish, well, I'm out of time, but I'll continue. If you want to know about collective bargaining and how it works and the time it takes to go through it, I'd be glad to talk to you about it. Should I continue talking?
Maria,
waiting.
are you on mute?
Yeah, she is.
I'm sorry, I'm on mute. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. No, can't talk. Can't continue to talk. No, you're fine. So we are at what, 8:23. Let's go ahead and go into final closing statements. So let's start with Mr. Wouters. I always want to say Wooters just because it looks that way, but I know it's Wouters. Go ahead.
Maria, just to clarify, we're at 2 minutes for each closing statement. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
2 minutes.
Miss Mark, you're very kind. Yeah, I've been called Wooters my whole life. It's fine. It's a Dutch name and it's a unusual pronunciation.
It's Wouters though, right?
Yeah,
Wouters?
the Dutch say Wouters, but
Wouters.
they speak like
Wouters.
German people.
Oh.
Anyway,
I'm Korean, so what can I tell you?
okay, awesome. My brother lives in Japan. He's married to a Japanese lady and he couldn't be happier.
I'm not Japanese, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot about the bad blood.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Well, it's been a real pleasure.
Closing statements now.
Pardon me.
Steve, my timekeeper, it goes now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the incumbents and the challengers out there. You care enough to serve, and I admire and appreciate that. I think what we need to consider is who has the best interest of the residents at heart. And from my view, it's very clear. I mean, meeting after meeting I've attended, see resident after resident get up there and talk. And it just feels like the decision was made before the meeting ever started. Like in Adventure Landing, the attorney for the developer spoke first and he spoke last. And it seems like that was the only voice that was heard. And it's very, very frustrating. And that's why I'm here tonight. I'm here to ask for your help. I think we can do better. I really do. I think tomorrow can be better than today. I'm asking you to tell your friends, tell your neighbors, whoever you're going to vote for. But please, it's uninformed voters that decide most elections. And it pains me to say that, but that's pretty much the way it works. And I would like to quickly mention Amendment 2. Amendment 2 came up out of nowhere, like most of these projects that no one ever heard of. It would allow, if the mayor resigns the day after the election, the mayor pro tem would take over for 4 years, rather than allow the citizens to elect their own mayor at the next election cycle 2 years later. And this, to me, just goes against our core values as a democratic republic. People have the right to choose our leaders. I think we need people who will be more responsive to the residents and small businesses. I know our mayor mentioned bicycle racks. Funny, Champion Cycles was getting threatened $250 a day for having a bicycle rack out there that they use for their bikes they're working on. So they had to stop that practice. I think we need people who respond to the little guy, not the big guy. My name is Bruce. I'm asking for your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Mesa?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, first off, to everyone watching, thank you very much. To obviously my colleagues and of course those that are running. This is not an easy task. It's not an easy task or an easy ask. But it's worth it at the end. In closing, I want to thank everyone once again. But also, if you haven't made your choice, I hope you're able to make your choice after this. 2 minutes is not enough to answer some of these questions. If you still have questions, please reach out and contact us through our website. I will give you my personal phone number if you want to know more. I believe in the heart and soul of Jacksonville Beach. Who's the heart and soul of Jacksonville Beach? It's the people that are here, the residents that are here, the businesses that are here to make a difference. If residents weren't vocal, if residents weren't attentive, we would not have a Jacksonville Beach. We would have something major, something more that we would not want. And I want to make it clear, I don't want Jacksonville Beach to turn into Daytona Beach or Fort Lauderdale. If that was the case, I would have moved over there after I served the United States Navy. Regardless of who's in office, Jacksonville Beach was still and will continue to be the best place to live. The mayor, me, the council, whoever's in office, they don't make the city, it's the people once again. I serve this community because I care about this community. I didn't have this growing up. Los Angeles didn't have remotely close to what we have in this community. This community means a lot to me. It's very touching, and it has seen me grow to the person I am today. And before my time is up, I will say that I have been endorsed by our sheriff, T.K. Waters, Kyan Michael, Senator Clay Yarborough, the FOP, NEFAR, Jax Biz, Councilmember Rory Diamond, among others. Thank you. On November 5th, please vote Fernando Meza. And if you have any more questions, visit my website, vote for Fernando Meza. Thank you.
Thank you. Um, Mr. Lewis.
Hey, Maria, thank you so much for flubbing the mute button. You kind of took the heat off of me. My name is Duke Lewis.
Sorry.
I am not a politician. I'm an angry citizen. I started going to meetings and I saw a council that was not receptive to the speakers. I saw multiple speakers come up and I saw a council that voted opposite of the way those speakers went. I intend to be a person that listens to the citizens and takes their considerations in when I vote. My opponent has made it clear he is still for a 55-foot height limit in the business district. I encourage you to go to the Jax Today Voters Guide. His words are there where he says that the developers have told him the only way we're going to have a safe downtown is if we raise it to 55 feet. The job is to listen to the citizens and do what the citizens want. Now, as far as those people not wondering how much to pay when they came to park, they didn't even consider how much they were going to pay when they came to park because they were coming down there to do trouble. All right. The idea is if we do things to stop them before they get there, if we do things to make them take a second guess before they just come in, we are assisting our police department. And not just like I saw at the council meeting after the shooting where, my opponent looked at Chief Smith and said, well, we've given you everything you've asked for. What else could we have done? All right. Secondary to that, when it comes to raising the wages, okay, I do understand collective bargaining. I was a fireman. I voted on these contracts. This was not an opening year. You, sir, as a former first responder, know what it's like to try and make it by on that small paycheck when you're a young police officer. The idea that it took you 3.5 years in this position to figure out you needed to fund them correctly, that's an embarrassment to yourself, not me. I intend to be pro public safety by supporting our police department, both monetarily and with council decisions that aid them in policing our city. My name is Duke Lewis. I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jansen. Unmute. Unmute.
I thought I did. I guess to click.
That's okay. That's okay. That's why I'm here, I think.
Yep. So let's talk about endorsements for just 1 second. An endorsement is, hey, we like you. I think that you're doing a great job on council. We're just going to select you as our candidate. No, the endorsement process is much more rich than that. What you have to do is you have to fill out a multi-page questionnaire. You submit that questionnaire, and then the entity that's reviewing it takes a look at it and decides, okay, well, will we give them an interview or not? Then you're given a date and time where you have an interview and you sit in front of a panel. The firefighters had a panel of, I think, 16 people. The FOP had 3. NEFAR had, I think, around 10 or 12, and the chamber had just as many. And so everyone here that's in this forum tonight had that opportunity to go through every one of those processes. And I was the one that walked away with all those endorsements. I got it from the FOP, I got it from the firefighters, and my opponent, who's a firefighter, couldn't even land that one. So to me, the endorsement goes a long ways when you look at it in that term. I've been endorsed by TK Waters. I've been endorsed by Congressman Rutherford, Congressman Bean, Clay Yarborough, and Dean Black, and all the way down. And I've taken the time to build a network all the way up to the federal level so that we can bring our taxpayers back, our tax dollars back to our taxpayers in Jacksonville Beach. It takes a while to build that network up, and you have to really involve yourself in everything governance to learn it. You have to get involved with the Florida League of Cities. You have to get involved with the National League of Cities. And I brought the National League of Cities to the city of Jacksonville Beach. We were never on it before. And I've traveled to DC and I've worked on projects and appropriations to bring them home to our citizens. So I just ask for you to take a look at everything, our experiences. My opponent has no experience. He has no network. He has no connections. And I ask that you look at us on November 5th and vote Dan Jansen to continue my tenure.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is Mr. Sutton.
Thanks, Maria, and thank you again for the opportunity, and to Beaches Watch, and to those that have tuned in. I've been here consistently all my life and served Jacksonville Beach, as I said, for 21 years. And there are numerous things that are, that are in flight that are better than where they have been in the past, and progress is being made, whether it be downtown, whether it's you know, unfortunately having to react to crime that sometimes spills into our city. You know, we've had things like the Penman Road project and the threat from Duval County Public Schools of eliminating our community schools. We've been able to have some positive impact along with our citizens and parents on some of those items to, you know, to make some positive, you know, changes as to what was being proposed. And I think we're going to end up on, you know, in a great place as it relates to our public schools. Just wanted to touch on the whole 55-foot thing. I was new to council back then, but you know, when it came to that, I guess in 2004 we put the 35-foot height in, and when it came to that decision, quite honestly, all of that decision was, since the 35-foot height is in our charter, was taking that decision to the people of Jacksonville Beach. So the appropriate vote from the city council was to put it on the ballot for the people of Jacksonville Beach to shoot down, which they strongly did, 82-18, and I voted against it as well. But the appropriate thing to do was to put it on the ballot and let the people decide. So that's
Right.
just to set the record straight there. But with your input and community involvement and engagement, I know that Jacksonville Beach has bright days ahead, and I ask for your support and vote to continue the work that lays before us. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. It's Ashley. Ashley, Jennifer, yes.
Sorry. Here we go. Yes, so, you know, Mayor Hoffman had mentioned, you know, we can't go back, and she's right. We need to move forward. And I think that myself and the challengers that you see before you are the people who are equipped with the ideas and the drive to be able to do that and not meet the status quo. My opponent, like I said, legacy does not equal leadership. I do respect all of the time he's put in and all of his commitment to this community, which is clear. But I ask you if that involvement has moved the needle and made your lives better in any material way. I'm ready to serve day one. I am so excited to be a part of this community of challengers, and I really encourage you to get out to support us. Endorsements are historically skewed towards incumbents, and not that they aren't something to be proud of, they are. However, that's why the road ahead for myself and the other challengers is bigger. It's a bigger hill to climb, and that is historic. And so we are asking for a group of people who are interested in representing the residents, that the residents vote and rally in our favor if this is the kind of change that they want. As an Einstein's kid, I will also say that Einstein's A Go-Go was a legendary club. It's an incredible community. It still is. Mr. Jansen cited how much he loved Avondale and Riverside. All of those Einstein's kids grew up to open the businesses that you love in Riverside and in Murray Hill and in Avondale. So anyway, huge fan of Einstein's and the community that I am still a part of. It's unfortunately not recognized locally, but nationally is considered a treasure and a piece of history, music history. So, yay.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. Let's see. Last but not least. All right, Chris, and then followed by Georgette, and then we're done.
Thank you. We do recognize Einstein's here at the Beaches Museum. I was not cool enough to go to Einstein's, but I do know about it. And from the history, I will say that one thing I am is positive about Jacksonville Beach. I'm an optimist. I'm a cheerleader. It's tough at re-election time or at election times because people are really pointing out the negative and the flaws and it's hard to remember the positives and the things that we love about living here when people are kind of in your head about the negatives and pointing those out from the sidelines. So I would just encourage people to think about the positives and what you love about Jacksonville Beach, and that there is a lot of great people serving you now, and commendable to all of the people who are running. And to the 63 people on the Zoom call, thank you for hanging in there, and to everybody who's watching it, to be informed voters. One thing I've learned on this call is that there is a lot of misinformation still out there, misunderstanding of the processes on how things are done. And I will say too, as far as the public meetings, that is a culmination. We have workshops, we have meetings with residents, we have meetings with interested stakeholders long before it ever comes to council. Some of these projects have been talked about for years. So there is a lot of time invested in this. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of research and homework that we all commit to do, and that we do as part of our service. So I want to commend our current council for really coming to the table prepared, well-informed, and for asking the hard and important questions. And I think that is something that we're all ready to continue to do. I'm looking forward to serving 4 more years as your mayor. This is the honor of my life. It's such a privilege to be the mayor of this city that we all love so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. And on behalf of Beaches Watch, we are the organization that we are, nonpartisan. We are a civic organization. Our primary mission
Georgette?
is.
How about Georgette?
Georgette gonna speak?
Oh, sorry. Oh, go ahead. I just figured that was Chris's homage, but go ahead, Georgette. By all means.
Thank you. Thank you, Beaches Watch. Thank you for everyone for tuning in or watching later on. I love this city. My husband and I chose purposely to live here for it to be a city that we are going to retire in. And I want to make sure that this is a city that people want to live in, not just visit. We have to focus on the needs and the wants of the residents. I ask you to judge me versus my opponent by, do you feel safer in your community or this city than you did 4 years ago? Are you happier with your neighborhood than you were 4 years ago? I have the endorsements of the last 2 police chiefs and Mayor Latham because they worked with both Chris and I, and they think that I am going to be a better leader than what she brings to the table. She's been there for 12 years. To put that into perspective, a child who entered kindergarten, who entered 1st grade when she was elected, is now graduating from high school. An additional 4 years, they'd be graduating from college. That is a long time. Yes, you get relationships, but you also start listening to the funders more than the residents and the voters. That is what you really need to be focusing on, is what are the needs of the people in the community. A lot of work goes into everything that the council votes on. So that is why it has that perception that everybody knew they were going to vote. But the key is to get people in on the front end, not wait until they're at the city council meeting when they're finding out about this. We have been woeful at really engaging our citizens. If we want this to be a community that other communities don't say, we don't want to be like Jack's Beach, which a coastal committee that I consulted with said, no, we're not worried about Daytona Beach. We don't even want to be like Jack's Beach. That broke my heart. I love this city, and I want to make sure that this city remains a place that is resident focused. My name is Georgette. I am running for mayor, and I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Georgette.
Maria, you can go now.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.